And we're working. Work, 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 work. All right, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. It has been nearly a year since I updated you guys on my twins. This is one of them. I did sarcastically call them twins. Just, you know, there were a couple of cuttings that I took at the same time. One of them was kind of short and squatty. The other one was really tall with a bunch of foliage on the top. Called them twins sarcastically. And then just kind of realized that both of them were really boring. And I decided I split this one from the top. See there where it's had a bunch of aerial roots sprout from it last year. And then on this side here, in a minute, I'm not gonna prune it heavily today, but I am gonna take off some of the unneeded leaves and a couple of unneeded twigs. I say unneeded leaves, a couple of the older ones, and then just some of the twigs that are growing in the wrong spot. And I'll try to give you guys a little bit of a closer look. That side actually kind of is healing just a little bit around it. I may try to carve out a little hollow in it one day or something, not just yet. From what I remember, I don't even remember really how this one or even the twin did in the hurricane, but we've had just an abnormal amount of not very much rain this year, and especially early this spring, like in May and June, we had almost none. And a lot of the microcarpas that I had that are about this size, you know, that I have in training pots about this big, etc., their leaves all just started turning yellow all of a sudden. And then, you know, before, I just kind of thought, well, they're just going to get a growth spurt, but they didn't really get a growth spurt. And I moved them all to the shade. This one, you know, recovered well, but slowly. It's a different story for the other twin. It's still alive, but we'll take a look at that one in a minute. This one, I'm just going to do a little light pruning. And like I said, not necessarily unneeded leaves, just some of the older ones. Just hoping that it gets another little good growth spurt before winter really hits. And again, some of these twigs and branches that are just in bad places, and they can just put a little more energy into the branches I want to keep. All right, like I said, I really just trying to keep the plant as healthy as possible. So, didn't want to take off a massive amount. At one point when I had it sitting in the shade, this somehow, and I didn't notice for a while, it was pinned. Actually, it was pinned in the pot, and I'm not sure really what pinned it there. I'm going to take off a little bit of that top growth though. Would like to keep that a little chance. The only branch that's actually under the split. So definitely like to keep the branch under the split. See if I can't. It's already looking like it's, you know, doesn't have good taper, which, you know, obviously with an experiment like that, it's going to look like it doesn't have good taper, but see if I can give you guys a little bit of closer look at the split and how it's healing. It's been an interesting experiment. All right, and then there is this guy. I'm certain this went through a hurricane emergency repot because it barely has any substrate in there. But at that time, it probably seemed perfectly healthy. See, I'm pulling off some dieback here. I knew that, I knew that to be the case. I'm just kind of pulling it off now. But those were the branches. And then just like the, the twin there, early this spring, it just, I mean, every leaf on it started looking like that. But even just not even yellowish. It was more of like somebody had taken all the color out of the green. This is actually, I would consider this normal yellowing, where it was just really like a lime green, and you could just, kind of sense that it was not healthy for the tree. And like I said, I moved them all into shade. Most of them recovered right away. This one, I nearly threw away. I mean, this one I actually had to bring back into like where my emergency room is, where I put like repots and everything else. The other ones just kind of went into like, slightly more shade that they were in. I mean, I do have some shady spots I can put my trees, but most everything here is in the full sun. In Florida, sometimes it seems like you can't even escape the full sun. But I'm going to do a little gentle repot with it. You'll probably be able to see it more when I do the repot here in a minute. And that I had it in the shade for so long, and there's so little substrate in there. I don't know if that's just making it like not drain all that well or what, but the bottom of it is just completely covered in almost blackish algae. I was thinking about just pruning some of the lower branches so I could see what I was doing, and then hitting that with a toothbrush. But I do think I should get some more substrate under there, maybe help with a little bit more of a gravity drainage kind of a thing. And then when I pull it up, since I said I am going to be gentle with it, because obviously it's only been a few months since it was near death. But I do want to get some substrate under it. And since I am going to do that, I am still going to prune off some of the lower ones. Some of these shoots were coming straight out, and I was just leaving them go, mainly just, again, for the interest of the health of the tree. But since it's getting repotted, it won't need quite as many leaves until it pushes some more roots anyhow. And a few of these really were in just some really bad spots. That little growth up there I'll leave. It would look a lot better like instantly right now if I took it off, but still hasn't healed up the top yet, obviously. And I do need to let it select a leader at some point. Cut off some more of that dieback that just didn't come off with my, didn't crumble with my fingers earlier, but I could still tell a couple of those branches were dead. Alright, that left plenty of green and growing tips. Since it is such a small tree, I'm going to try to repot in a little bit of a different setup than I usually do. Alright, and with the camera off, I went to go snip a little bit of some of the dieback off, and I thought it was only going to be one piece, and next thing I know, I'm snipping 6 or 7. Probably should have, done that on camera just to show you guys what I did, but just kind of snipped off a little more of the larger twigs that were obviously dead. So you guys should be able to see a little bit closer now. All that black algae looking type growth. It did just rain today, so that's why it looks like it's wet right now. Get some of that knocked off. If it was healthy all year, I wouldn't hesitate to do a. And here in Florida, I wouldn't hesitate to do a bare root right now. But there's definitely no need. I rarely use a root hook. I usually use my fingers. But I do just want to kind of pull some of that growth off there. And then this is just water. I hear mixed messages about vinegar. One of the things that worries me about vinegar is that some people use it for an all-natural weed killer that kills everything. Well, if it kills everything, it certainly can't be good for roots. But then I've heard other people say a little bit of vinegar used for cleaning wouldn't hurt anything, but I'm certainly getting this all over the roots, so I'll just use water. See, it's starting to heal a little bit there. Just a little bit of that bark was already loose. So I'm just gonna take the loose stuff off. Should allow the healing to kind of continue on without having to push the dead stuff out of the way, because sometimes that's what happens. Alright, that should be looking pretty good. Got it looking about like that. I do have some soil in the pot, ready to go. Kind of see there where this side's healing up a little bit. Actually, show you guys also, this side really doesn't look bad. It's just not rolling over or anything. Doesn't look like the bark's even dying either, where this one is showing some healing. Maybe it's the healing that actually just pushes the dead bark away. Can't believe how close I was to throwing it away, because you know, when I went, the morning I actually went out there, it only had like one little green bud on it. And I had let it sit there for a long time. Felt kind of silly after a little while, steadily watering it every day too. I put just a little bit too much in there. I don't want it that high in the pot. Alright, and I think it's much better off. I think the combination of there not being enough substrate in there, and it was just too deep in the pot, and I had it in the shade way too long and everything else. Now I'll have to shade it for a bit because I repotted it obviously, but hopefully I can get it out in the sun pretty soon and let it get some good growth on there before wintertime hits. Alright, and I have been doing most of my little ficus trees in pairs, but I don't think that other video is going to take too long. Fairly certain the one that I did a pair with this one with it's in bad shape. It's not, you know, like life and death, but it's certainly not going to need any work done to it anytime soon. So this one's looking so cool and photogenic right now. I figured I'd just kind of show it to you. And I've been wanting to give it a good pruning too. It's got a lot of, you know, straight down growth, straight up growth. But some of the stuff right here, I mean, that's the original chop. This is actually from like what I call the huge green island, I think, in the playlist. I'm not sure what I have it called. The biggest clump that I have, not necessarily clump, but the biggest tree that I have, the ficus anyway. But that was the original chop of that, and then after a while I decided I didn't chop that tree back far enough, and it already had, you know, some ramification on there, so I took this as a cutting off of that tree when it already had some set branches on it. Really has worked out well, but see that aerial root there? Hope you guys can see that. Just doing some really cool stuff, dropping a couple of aerial roots there. But again, I have just been wanting to kind of clean it up a little. And its little partner out there. This is another one of the trees. This one didn't seem to get affected by that little drought that we had. With all just nothing but strong sunlight for so long. But its partner did. Of course, its partner actually got repotted this spring too. Not wanting to completely defoliate it all, but I will pull off some of the older branches, older leaves. Alright, so that opened it up a little bit. Had a ton of growth here. This branch here had all kind of, I want to say bad growth coming off of it. Thank goodness it's got a branch coming that way. So I do, nice thick branch there on the bottom. And then I kind of have another thick second branch there. This one's at the chop mark. And then I'm counting on this one to be the leader, along with some more, ramification coming off of that right at that point. And since it's across from that chop mark, I don't know, it's going to want to do one or the other. Either it's going to help me heal a bunch or cause some taper issues, but this one's actually has a little bit of algae issues kind of there too. But we are, our extreme humid season is coming to an end. We really haven't even had all that much rain or anything. So I think, as the extreme humidity ends, this will be okay. Get some arid wintertime air in here. I guess I'll leave that, a little bit of growth there. A little wound there that's dropping from.